Roblox horror as a genre is very mixed, as it has good games such as Doors, Jim's Computer, Stereotypical Lobby, etc., making Roblox horror games actually scary with tense atmospheres, interesting characters, and a drawn and well thought out story. And lore that is delivered both subtly through hints and messages, and directly through the game itself, explaining what is going on. However, as time has gone on, there's been another side of Roblox games that takes advantage of being called a Roblox horror game, this by not containing or sometimes misusing horror elements in order to be taken seriously or in some cases make money. So today we're going to be talking about some notable examples of these games, and we're going to get right into it. Before I begin, or before we even begin to talk about these horror games, we have to talk about the catalyst that possibly made this being Cheese Escape. This game is not a horror game, but one that is a very self-aware game that knows it's not scary, calling itself a pointless horror game about a harmless rat. This game is extraordinarily popular, sitting at 650 million visits, and is actively played despite its age. It's important because the next two examples I will talk about use the formula that Cheese Escape has to make their own horror game. So let's get into them. Color or Die is the most popular on the list, considering that it has 234 million visits. I have seen videos on Color or Die's story and gameplay, and I will say it's not as bad as the example later in the video, but it's still pretty bad. I know that the genre for this game is classified as adventure, but it is considered a horror game by many people. Even Game Rant says this, and I honestly don't even see that. First of all, the game is not scary, because the monster is just kind of silly. A stickman chasing you isn't something that gets you afraid or tensed up, because, well, it's a stickman. And it's not only that, but the fact that it's a game about a fetch quest, it's one of those fetch quest horror games that makes the game not really scary. A fetch quest horror game is essentially a game where the main task is to walk through a maze and just collect something, and then do the same process over and over again. It also has a story with these stickman monsters, and whilst in the game it can sometimes be interesting and can sometimes be subtly sent, as in the TV message that people have noted, the endings to this story barely connect to one another or to the game at all. It feels like the lore of this game is very disconnected and without a set idea, with endings representing something and the actual gameplay lore representing something completely different. They're just not connected at all. Also, the chapter system is pretty pointless and is, I think, one of the biggest parts that I do not like about this game. Be scared, quote unquote, when playing this game for really the first time, but being afraid for what is essentially doing the exact same thing 3 times just makes that little scare factor run out really fast. It's also not helping that it just keeps adding more stick figures, which I have already said are just kind of silly. The character design and the color mechanic is obvious that it appeals to a younger demographic on Roblox, but I feel like even kids wouldn't be scared once they play this game more than once, and the replayability is so low unless you want to unlock some endings or get some pets that I think they've added. And overall, it's not a terrible game, but it's just not a horror game. Especially with the stickmen, those things aren't even scary. But you know what? This game, when comparing it to the next example, is just a marvel in almost everything. And we're gonna get right into that game.
Hello everyone, it is I, the great Papa— What the fuck?
Okay, so I recorded the video before I actually played the game, and this is the 3rd time I played Stay in the Light, compared to the 2 hours that I'd basically played it in the 2 past attempts, and this is the very first time I saw the monster. This is my honest top hat reaction to seeing the monster for the first time. See the woods? This is the woods. Oh wow. First time I've actually seen the monster. Okay. Stay in the Light is a copy of a copy, and it is a horror game with bigger quotations than Color or Die. And that is not good, plain and simple. It is terrible. I'm gonna go over my gripes with it, starting with this one. It has the very same premise of color or die. You have to collect something that is in the map and avoid the monster. The issue with this game is that the batteries are found everywhere that there is light, basically. There is almost no difficulty in finding many of the batteries at the beginning game. And it only worsens the difficulty, as in it makes it easier, when the monster is never seen. I played this game for a couple of hours and some with friends, and I have never once encountered the monster. It was to the point where I had to watch someone else play it to actually see the monster, and the monster is just a smiley face without a body, essentially. Okay, so small tidbit, I finally was actually able to see the monster, and it does have a body. It's just randomly floating as if it were swimming. And also, it's still not scary for this. Honestly, I found the people to be more scary than the actual monster. What the fuck? Terrifying. I am more afraid of this woman's face than the actual fucking monster, bro. Why is it smiling like that? As some people have also said that they haven't seen the monster, and this is going to tie in with my second issue as to why I don't think the monster is frequently seen. The map is way too big, and it's to its own detriment. I think the map is too big for their fetch quests, to the point that the monster cannot follow or catch up with many people, typically only sticking to one person. And considering that this is a 10-player lobby, it leaves the other 9 people basically able to explore without ever encountering the monster. And like I said, the monster really only follows one person, and because the map is so big and just expansive to its own detriment, it ruins the monster's like chasing, because typically people will be outside of the light to collect the last batteries. And also, like I said, the monster isn't really scary, and there's really big problems with the monster, such as it spawns right in front of you, and sometimes several times. I've had it happen in the recording where it literally spawned right in front of me twice, and it killed me once, spawned right in front of me, and killed me another time. Another time I was in the light, but for some reason the game didn't register it, and I immediately died right next to the light. Ain't that convenient? And also, yeah, the respawn, which mind you shouldn't even buy. It's just better to get the batteries. The respawn costs 70 Robux. Or the revive, sorry. The revive costs 70 Robux. Totally not worth it. Another issue I have is the terrible lighting. I get that the mechanic is to stay in the light, and whilst that is an interesting mechanic, you can't see anything. You can't even see anything in the woods, which you have to end up walking in mid to late game, which is just you aimlessly hoping to find something like a torch or some form of path back, which is why I can see many players get impatient or just quitting right there, or just not being able to find it because you've only been finding batteries on the roads and in a castle. And now you have to walk into something that is pitch black and has absolutely no direction. Like, what are you even supposed to do then? It's an issue, once again, that people have talked about, and the solution that the dev thought of? Put a 999, basically 1,000 Robux, game pass that is a torch that gives you 30 seconds of light per life, or a compass to find more batteries. Yep, $10 to finish this game, because you ain't sure gonna find the remaining batteries just walking around, which might also lead you to just finding a video up on YouTube, because there is literally no way you can see things in a pitch black environment and just hope that you'll find every single battery. Also, revives in this game, from what I heard at least, are 70 Robux. Almost $1. Did I mention that this game was a cash grab? I didn't? Well, there you go. You can't be any more clear that this game is a cash grab when to actually enjoy it or see through its pitch black screen, you need to waste $10+ on game passes. Nice. This game isn't even scary, and it fails to be a horror game. Oh, and also, 27 batteries? Really? That many? They really want you to spend a lot of time in this game, because if the long roads and bad lighting weren't enough, the fact that you have to find 27 batteries is way more than enough to keep you occupied in playing this game if you have premium. Which, mind you, if you have premium, they do get money by the amount that you play. Because of this, I don't consider this a horror game but a cash grab, and a badly made copy of a copy that falls flat on its face with anything that has to do with horror, or with any of its mechanics like color or dye. You know, for this entry, it's not really an example of bad horror games, but I think it was just really funny to mention. Don't Get Sniffed, Don't Get Licked, and Don't Sniff It came from the popularity of Color or Die, as Badass Experiences literally a month later made a joke game to make fun of the genre of fetch quest horror games that got really popular, especially with Color or Die. Similar to Color or Die, the game does the same thing but with noses, and makes you need to collect boogers to open something. For all 3 chapters, they basically similar to Color or Die, and the fact that it is more popular than Stay in the Light and the fact that it's more popular than Stay in the Light and was popular especially when Color or Die was also just booming in popularity, goes to show that this joke game that was made to make fun of the genre is just being more popular than the games that are trying to take themselves seriously in the genre. So when a joke game that is made to poke fun at you becomes more popular than you, you know you're doing something wrong. In conclusion, while some horror games attempt to make a genuine effort in providing moments of terror, fear, and scares, games like Color or Die and Stay in the Light try to instead aim for making kids entertained because they know that they cannot make a terrifying or scary experience. They make these simple characters and simple fetch quest horror games because they know kids will play it. And while the devs are more than capable of making actual horror games and making quality games, they instead aim for the simple route of making horror games for kids, to which the most they can do is a pointless horror game. Thank you guys so much for watching. I've been Top Hat King, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.